Hi, this is Trudy J, fantasy author. Last time I was making a new one of my little thing that was broken. Still very sad about it. I've been working on it since then, and he is here. He's got some eyes. Don't know if you can see him. Like that. You can see him against my thing. Anyway, he's got some eyes on him now, and some feet, and some hands, and a tail. I think I'm going to do some spots. I made his eyes and his face different to the last one I made. Just, I don't know, I think he looks a bit more dragon-like now. The last one, he just had big black eyes on him. You can't really see it, but it kind of didn't really look very dragon-y. So, yeah. Anyway, so I'm making spots. And as I'm making spots, I thought I might talk about the fantasy character type that I write again and again and again. And it's not something I noticed until I was well into my career. If you'd asked me, you know, maybe 5 years ago, if there was a kind of a style or a theme to my writing, I would have said, don't be ridiculous. They're all so different. I write about dragon shifters over here and a demon hunter over here, and there's a carnival that has grants wishes, and I would have said no, it's not the case, and nothing is, they're all too different. And even though they all kind of have magic in them, and it's a fantasy world, and all of them, they're not connected in that way. And then since then, I don't know if I can't remember how I noticed it. I think maybe I don't know, not even sure how I noticed it, but it was definitely a few years ago now. And I realized that my one consistent trope that I always have in all of my stories, or maybe just the main character, the thing that they have in common is always that they are kind of an underdog. They're overlooked, that people don't think that they're able to do what they either want to do, or even just anything, that they're hiding. They wish they were capable of more, but they don't think they are, perhaps. They've been told their whole life that they're not able to do more, or that there's something wrong with them, or that that they're just not going to be capable of more. And then throughout the process of the story, we come to discover that actually they are not just capable of being say normal or average. They are very much someone who is very, very powerful, and they have a lot to offer, and in fact they end up saving the world. So it's kind of very much like a coming of age story, where the main protagonist is kind of like hidden powers that no one knew about, everyone overlooked them, and in the course of the story, everyone, including the person themselves, discovers that they are actually something more than average or normal, which I have actually, do you know when I think I did discover this is when I was doing a lot of mindset work and kind of doing life coaching and stuff like that. And I realized that I think that's how I felt when I was younger. I was middle child. Wasn't the first one, wasn't the exciting first child, wasn't the exciting third child. I was just kind of the child in the middle who kind of had to make the peace and go with the flow, because there was no other way to survive being a middle child. And I kind of maybe I did always feel overlooked, and I was very shy also, so I wasn't very good at kind of speaking up and speaking my mind. So that was something that I really felt connected to, this idea of someone who was overlooked and didn't seem to be much of anything. And then as the story goes on, you discover that they are so powerful and able to achieve so much. So that's kind of cool. That's my my secret. Now you know it all. Now I've told you all of my secrets and my therapy. This is my therapy, telling everyone in the world about how I felt overlooked as a child. Oh well, I'm sorry, TMI, but that's just where it came from. And I think, I don't know, I think a lot of people have a secret life going on in their heads that they don't always let out into the world. And I was definitely one of those kids. And so I always love a good story where the person is like that, like, they don't have the confidence, or they or they're, you know, in hiding from who they really are, and they have to discover it, and they have to pursue it, and they have to become something more, which is, yeah, I love that idea, becoming something more than they thought they were. I love a good story like that. Give me one of those any day of the week and I will be there. And I love those scenes in books where it's, and it doesn't even have to be a fantasy book, it's like kind of someone is secretly a music prodigy, but they've hidden themselves away somewhere because they don't like it anymore, and the people around them think that they're just normal, and then suddenly they discover that they are a prodigy, and suddenly they are so much more, I don't know, meaningful. Which is to say, I'm sure that people who are not that powerful, but I don't know what it is, honestly, about that kind of trope. I think it's just kind of people discovering that they're more, that you can be more, and I love it when, yeah, it's just that something about someone being overlooked and then kind of proving themselves and saying, I am more than you think I am, and this is why, because I'm awesome. And I mean, in fantasy, it kind of tends to be because they've got secret magical powers, which, I mean, you know, that's where it goes in fantasy, right? Like, although one of my favorite series is a series, and the main character is in a world of not supernatural, I don't know what she calls them, but like witches and wizards and warlocks and whatever else, and she's the only human, and she's actually a pretty kick-butt awesome character. She ends up using a few magical artifacts to kind of help protect her, but yeah, so it's not just necessarily about finding secret powers. Maybe it's about finding themselves and finding them true selves, and part of it is also speaking up for themselves, and I feel like I definitely didn't do that as a kid, and sometimes don't do it as an adult. Actually, it's quite hard, I think, personally, to speak up for yourself, like to kind of say, this is what I want, this is what I need. I was rereading them, actually. I was rereading my Ellie Hazelwood books. I love Ellie Hazelwood, by the way. I've never met her, but her books are amazing. Anyway, I was rereading one of her books, and my favorite one is this one where the guy that she's kind of seeing, he insists on her talking about what she wants, because she's someone who it's like an extreme people pleaser who has gotten to this point where she molds herself into being what she thinks the people around her want, and that is different for whoever she's around, and she can't figure out what the hero wants, so she's herself around him, and then he starts demanding that she tell him what she wants, and won't let her, like, insists that it be what she wants rather than just what she thinks other people will want, which is just all over just a fantastic trope for me. Like, I was loving that book. I did love that book. In fact, I can't remember, it's Yours Theoretically, actually. I'm pretty sure that was the one. So go out right now and buy that book. It was awesome. It's kind of like I want to call it romantic comedy, but it's kind of just contemporary romance, maybe, I don't know. Ellie Hazelwood, one of my favorite authors, so and not at all a fantasy author, so I don't know what that means, but yeah, so the idea is, yeah, and in every single one of my books there is the main character always has to learn about themselves and figure out what it is that they are good at and what it is about what they do that's amazing. And sometimes it's not necessarily, I did say that it was often the magic, but sometimes it's not necessarily the magic. They might be magical, but it might be about confidence or speaking up for themselves, or just taking charge when they need to take charge. That's Rilla in the Carnival series. She is needs to stand up and be the leader of the carnival, but she's younger than it was her father who was the previous ringmaster, and he dies suddenly, and she is half his age. She's in, early 20s, and she doesn't have, at the beginning she's worried that she can't do it, that she needed her charismatic father there to kind of be the one to guide her through all that. And she has to learn that no, she doesn't need that, and her father has his his leadership skills, but he led in a certain way and she leads in a different way, and that's okay. And also they do magic. But yeah, that was one way that it happened in one of my books. Another way is just coming into your powers, figuring out who you are. My dragon shifter, she didn't know that she was a dragon shifter to start with, and then she has to figure out how to shift, and there's no other dragons around to help her, so it's this crazy situation where she's trying to figure out how to shift into a dragon, never having done anything like this before in my life, and with no one who knows how to do it, because all the dragons were killed off 300 years before. So, well, apparently not all of them because she's alive, but yeah, so that was her. And then another, yeah, just the coming of age is what keeps popping into my head as the idea. But there's something, it's not just coming of age, it's like I think anyone can do it at any time in their life. I feel like I have done it in the last 10 years of my life, like as a person, as a author, as someone who wants to stand up and be seen. It's like I have done those same things that I try to make my heroines do, and that is come from a place of not being that confident in themselves, and kind of realize that you can be amazing, that you are someone who's worthy, and that you are capable of greater things than you thought you ever were. So I don't. Definitely, coming of age is maybe a trope for that would count for the younger protagonists in my books, but I don't feel like it's a coming of age story precisely that I'm talking about. It's just a story of someone who is overlooked becoming like kind of an underdog. But I always say overlooked because I think the power is always there, but it just wasn't discovered yet, or it wasn't something that they were kind of able to confidently kind of put out there in the world. And then watching that process as that person becomes more and more confident in themselves and their abilities and who they are. And then by the end, they are able to stand up and go, this is me, this is who I am, and this is what I can do. And oh my gosh, it's usually pretty awesome what they can do. And I don't think it needs to be big and flashy like an amazing magical power, which is sometimes what I have in my books. It can be like in the Love Theoretically book that I just read and loved, by Ali Hazelwood. It can be where she started trying to figure out what it was that she wanted in life, and then she had this man next to her saying, I see you, and I'm going to help you become that person that I know that you can be. Which, another trope, love that one, I see you. The love interest who kind of sees them who they really are and who they really can be. Anyway, so that is all for now for me. I think those are two of my favorite tropes and the things that I love doing in my stories and my books. Maybe comment below and tell me what are your favorites and whether you like that idea as well. All right, see ya, bye.